or we had some negative experience, I'd say, when I was growing up. And then I took those experiences and just doubled down on them when I got to college.
Hey there, everybody. Dominique Henderson, your CFP on YouTube, coming at you today with another Conversations in Finance. And my guest was Stephen Hughes of No Money Org, KNOW, Money Org, and Bankroll Summits. And his company goes around to different colleges on mostly the East Coast now, but talking about financial literacy, unpacking what the Generation Y and Z feel about financial services and their situation and just the future. And so we talked about a lot of things, and I want to bring this conversation to you, but we always begin with what the money story for Steve was, and this is what he had to say.
It's funny, like I really got interested in money. I didn't go to college studying finance or anything like that, but I'm a first generation Jamaican American. And as I was growing up, we had really humble beginnings. It was 8 of us in a 3-bedroom house, sometimes 10, depending on who was here from the country. And every now and then our lights would be cut off, water would be cut off. We had different, or we had some negative experience, I'd say, when I was growing up. And then I took those experiences and just doubled down on them when I got to college. So when I got to college, I made every financial mistake possible. I had 7 maxed out credit cards.
From t-shirts or from pizzas?
Pizzas, subs, like anything. Thinking about it, you're a freshman on college campus, you're hungry. Even if you have a meal plan, it's just you've never had this much access to food. And so, I had 7 maxed out credit cards throughout my college career. I had overdraft fees to the point the banks closed my accounts and told me to go play with someone, as far as other banks. I had 2 repossessions. I got evicted from my apartment. My credit score was a 385 at one point. And I decided that I should probably do some things different when it came to managing my money. And when I read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon and started, making some changes, one thing I did after that was I went to a financial education workshop, and everybody in there outside of myself was an old white man. And everyone in there outside of myself were talking about HELOC mortgages. And I didn't even know what a regular mortgage was at the time. And so I just knew I had to do something different in terms of learning about money. And I started telling people my mistakes and showing them how I fixed them. And then I started No Money 5 years ago in 2014. And now in 2019, we've become like a premier organization that teaches college students how to think, talk, and interact with money positively.
Central to our conversation was how the topic of financial literacy and financial education that leads to economic empowerment is resonating with Generation Y and Z college students right now. Like, for instance, what is their view of a financial services professional? And this is what Steve had to say.
Well, it depends on how the intro of that conversation goes, really.
Okay.
Because for me, when I was trying to get a footing in personal finance and really just managing my money properly, I didn't want to follow the Dave Ramsey of the world. Actually, I've never read a Dave Ramsey book. I've never listened to a Dave Ramsey podcast. And while I'm sure I know he helps a lot of people and gives a lot of great advice for people. I didn't think Dave had the experience that I had as a Jamaican American or as a young Black man trying to get his money right and what that looked like. And so I think in regards to young people that want to get their money right, whether it's this generation or the next coming up, as long as that conversation starts from authenticity and being genuine with a way to help, then, people are open. But I would say that a lot of people in my generation have like very strong, and I don't know how this happened, but very strong detectors. And, when somebody's coming to you, I think a lot of people say that they hate salesmen because of the experiences they've had in the past. But when someone's coming to you just looking to help, and that help turns into something of y'all working together and them paying you to help them meet their goal, it's a totally different onboarding or really prospecting than financial advisors just having lunches or hosting dinners with suits and ties and white tablecloth on the table and saying that I can manage your money, because a lot of people don't have the money to manage.
Based on that, I was really interested in what types of solutions can we put in place and what can be happening in the financial services industry today so that we can reach the generation of tomorrow's financial consumers, and how exactly should we go about doing that. And it was very interesting where Steve went with this.
Well, I think the biggest thing with mistrust when we're talking about finances is the fact that we generally don't talk about money, like in specifics as a society. And the people that we're talking about, Generation X and Generation Y and Z, uh, grew up in households where their parents didn't talk about money but struggled with money, and now they're struggling with money in their own households. So the biggest thing for like that authenticity and really coming to someone in an area where you can serve them and help them is connecting with them through stories. So we talked about the stale pale males for a second,
Yeah.
but after I had a workshop at in Myrtle Beach, there were some students. I had a workshop for about an hour and a half, and there were some students who mentioned to me after the workshop that, one, they had no idea they had been sitting down for an hour and a half talking to me about money, because it went by faster because they were engaged, their activities, and two, that they wouldn't know who to go to. Like I specifically remember a student from Rutgers, and she was Panamanian, and she told me she didn't know who to go to in her city or around her university who would have had the same experiences that I've had. That, you know, I, I'm thinking about how to take care of my parents as an immigrant American. I'm thinking about how I can get a footing in finances when it comes to saving and eliminating debt. And these different experiences that I can share with stories that are real things that have happened to me, the real mistakes that I've made, real ways that I've turned it around,
Yeah.
are huge when it comes to just being authentic and being able to help people.
As this is a channel to help you prepare for your journey as a financial professional, whether that be more the traditional route or the non-traditional route, I was curious on how the non-traditional route of financial coaching is that conversation is sitting with the consumers of financial services for tomorrow, the generation in Y and Z. And this is what Steve had to say.
Yeah, I think a mix of financial coaching and financial planning is good enough. And when I say financial planning, I'm making a distinction between financial planning and financial advisors financial advisors who may manage assets, so manage money for their clients, and financial planners who are sitting down with their clients, getting paid a flat fee and creating a plan of, hey, this is what you should do with your money when you leave me, and maybe we should sit down in the next 6 months or 12 months. So I think a lot of people in my age group and younger need financial planners or financial coaches to continue the work that the financial planner started. So having the plan and saying that, okay, I'm going to stick to this, but accountability is such a big thing when you're trying to either change a habit or, manage your money better. And so I definitely think that our generation, because for a while we couldn't even talk to financial advisors, like we didn't have enough money, right? And that's what a lot of people think. It's like, oh, I don't have 10,000, I don't have 25, 100, a million to even talk to a financial advisor. So this financial planner that says, hey, sit down with me for $350, and I'll show you what you're doing now and where you should put your money. And then a financial coach who's every month they're hitting you like, hey, this is the homework. Did you do this? Remember our financial goal. We're working towards this by this date. Are really important pieces of financial help and resources for our generation and the next. There are big companies that understand that financial coaching and financial accountability are huge pieces of what the next generation is going to need to even get on board with the financial planning or services company. Because I still remember, like, there was a company called LearnVest, and I want to say they got bought by Northwestern Mutual, and pushed to fully integrate them in their system. And LearnVest was, doing a lot on the financial planning front, but they were doing so much on financial education, and as we move, closer to that, or closer to our end of the field where we are more likely to talk to a financial planner or a financial coach, I think that you'll see either acquisitions or full out programs and departments for these bigger companies.
Steve is also a coach that helps financial advisors articulate and narrate their story into something that can resonate with the people they're speaking with. And I asked him just really candidly if he's starting to weave any of the conversations that he's finding out through his No Money brand on the college campuses into some of those coaching sessions with financial advisors. And this is what he had to say.
It goes back to what I mentioned before, as the stories that connect people, especially our generation and the generation coming up, to someone who's telling the story. And stories are the oldest form of communication for us. And when someone tells a story to you, now we're talking about some workshops we've been to that are maybe that the free bank workshop that comes on college campuses, and the person walks in and they're a banker and they don't really know what's on the presentation either. They're just reading the PowerPoint and they say like, "Good morning, class." I said, "Good morning," like that everyone hates. I think that with speakers and financial professionals specifically, when you can connect someone with a story, it changes the whole dynamic. So for an example, like I'm working with an insurance agent, right? The most glamorous position ever. And
you gotta start somewhere, brother.
I'm working with an insurance agent, and when he's an insurance professional, like that's what he does, that's his bread and butter.
Yep.
But when he was speaking, he was telling me like, audiences don't stay with me, like I lose them, and I'm not getting speaking engagements. I wrote this book, but it's not really popping.
Yeah.
And we sat down for like 3 hours and crafted his signature story. Mm-hmm. And now when he speaks, people walk with him out the room to figure out, hey, how can I get you to come to my school or organization? And the story, he tells me the biggest difference in how he even feels about the speaking engagement, his confidence in the speaking engagement, and delivering value to the people in the room, is the fact that he starts with a story, he sees that people are connected, and he's able to keep going. So financial advisors, like, you have to figure out and really sit down with how you even got here, like why, your background, the thing that you really had to change, why you jumped into financial advising, and how you've helped, people from there, whether it's families or people that because that's what people are going to connect to.
With someone so close to the college scene as Steve, I was really curious as to what the Generation Y and Z college student is thinking about the student loan crisis. Is it even on their radar, and how they're going about their lives differently in regards to that? I was very interested in his answer.
We're definitely still in the do stage.
Okay.
Because thinking about it, we're still seeing a lot of students go to college because they were told that you should go to college. Not because they want to go. And, before they get to campus, 3 months before they get to campus, they have to raise their hand in a classroom and ask to go to the bathroom. And then they get to campus and they have the ability to sign tens of thousands of dollars in student loans. And
wow.
For some reason,
I never thought about it like that. That's a good point.
And for some reason, I don't think that we ever think about it like that. Like, we're not preparing students to be empowered decision makers when it comes to their money. And so when they get to campus and they know they need to be on campus to go to classes.
Yeah.
And to be on campus to go to classes, you didn't have enough scholarship, so you need to get a loan. And to get this loan, you need to sign your name here for this $5,000 that will pay for the rest of your bill. Yeah. And for a lot of students, and I'll tell you, for me, when I saw the numbers of the loans, as long as it took care of my bill, like, I was pretty good with that. I was like, okay, well, I want to be in college. I have to sign this loan to pay my bill. This is just what it is. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the information or even the education to say, like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Or when I get out of school, let me work backwards to find out how much I'm going to be making to decide what I'm going to major in. Because, even as a Jamaican American, immigrant parents, they mostly want their kids to go be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
Yeah.
And I'm none of those things. So going to school and studying human resource management and then coming out or dropping out of school in 2010 and jumping into sales where you have to build a book of business before you really start getting paid.
They were probably like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they were like, so you're back in Colombia, like what's going on? What are you doing? And I kind of used the excuse of, oh, well, my little brother's still in high school, so I can help him out with this while I was trying to still get my life together. So
Okay, that was a good one.
But I think that a lot of us, even not even just students on campus, but adults who are just leaving college or who have left college in the past 5 or 10 years are just now getting their footing to say, hey, this is how I want to make money. Mm-hmm. This is the type of money I'm going to make. And by then they're already 30, 50, $100,000 in student loan debt. Only when we introduce those to them. Because even thinking about my mentee, he knew that he was supposed to go to college. His mother told him, when you graduate, you're going to leave. You're either going to get a job or you're going to go to school. And so in his latter parts of his high school career, he wasn't the most studious person, but he's brilliant, and the classroom didn't always show that.
Yeah.
But even with him making his college decisions, I told him, I said, well, the best thing that you can do right now is go to Midlands Tech, which is our technical college in Columbia, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Go to Midlands Tech for 2 years, knock out your gen ed, because you still don't know where you want to go to school and what you really want to focus on. Like, we all know that you want to do business, but what's the thing that you want to learn while you're in school? So he decided that he wants to learn computer science, and he wouldn't have thought about going to Midlands Technical College if we didn't sit down and talk about it. And he trusted me as his mentor to steer him in the right direction. So he thought about, okay, well, this might be a viable decision. He ended up going to a small 4-year school. And I'm cool with that. I'm all the way good with that. But every time I talk to him, and I think this is probably, now that I'm saying this out loud, this is probably not the same relationship that every mentor has with their mentee, but every single time that we eat lunch every month, because he gets back in town, we calculate his net worth. And then we also talk about like money decisions that he has coming up and how he feels about them. We also talk about to do to make money now. And these conversations aren't happening in like everyday households, much less
they're not happening enough. Yeah,
much less a mentor and a mentee talking about this. But I asked him, I said, well, in the last time that we sat down last month, I said, how much do you have in student loans? And he said, I think I have $6,000. And I said, okay, well, let's do the math. I think your net worth, like, you're about to watch it go into the negative, which is an experience that I never had because I never calculated my net worth before it even got to negative. Yeah. But him seeing that, he said, well, I need to get this off. Like, I'm trying to get back to zero so I can, so now it's a student who's thinking about his net worth in his freshman year, how he can pay for college, like through student loans or grants or scholarships mostly. And
he's thinking about it more intelligently.
Exactly.
Instead of letting it happen to him. I totally agree. As you can see, this conversation could have went on and on and on and on because Steve's boots to the ground, ear to the street perspective on how Generation Y and Z feels about money was just so intriguing to me. If you want to catch the entire interview, hop over to my website. I have that link down in the description for you. And if you want to check out Steve, make sure you follow him on Instagram, No Money Steve on Instagram, and I'll have some of the links to his bio and some of the things he's doing down below in the show notes also. We'll talk to you later. See you next time. Bye-bye.